A snack machine. Each of these little calorie bombs costs a cool $1.99. You only live once. I'll take a bag of crackers. My snack? And 1-cent change. And there it is, the exception to the rule. You don't always find something useful in waste bins. Forms and faculty notices. Not much interest to me. Here's a box of empty file folders. Won't open. The 1-cent coin is thin enough to unscrew it. Amazeballs! Ugh, I have sunk to a new low. On the thin metal sign it says common horse chestnut, and the Latin name Aesculus hippocastanum. Spicy crackers. I'll hang on to this snack for later. That'll work. I'll bet my sailboat on it. Phew. Okay, Sam. Find the damn info on where our perfidious professor's gone off to. And then maybe, just maybe, you'll get your story, a pay rise, and that nice little sailboat you're dreaming of. The cliché that professors are not exactly neat freaks might well hold true. But surely this is taking it to the next level. Hartman really must have left in a hurry. A stack of homework, botany books, and writing materials. Thanks, but I don't think that they're gonna help me right now. There are some scraps of torn up paper on the top. There's some torn up paper on the top. I'll take a closer look. A ripped up fax. Now let's see if I can put this back together. His expedition party sent him a fax. They've discovered some hitherto unknown species. Great, but where, for heaven's sake? Unfortunately, there's only a code here. GHN 7531. But maybe that'll help me further. Files with details of students' projects and the prof's expeditions. Maybe I'll find a clue here. This section has projects marked ARJ. These files are labeled CGL. These files all have GHN on them. From algae to zygopetalum, there's everything a botanist's heart could desire here. I don't think that these books are going to help me further in any kind of way. This file is marked GHN 7520 to GHN 7535. It ought to contain notes from the current expedition. Bingo. GHN 7531. The expedition has gone to Ghana, to Lake Basomtwi. So what the hell are they looking for there? Lake Basomtwi lies in the meteorite crater in Ghana's Ashanti region. It's 8 kilometers in diameter, about 80 meters deep, and doesn't have an outflow. The ecosystem and the lake are endemic, meaning there are lots of plant and animal varieties that are unique to that location. The priority is investigating the effects on the ecosystem of a massive meteorite strike. What's that on the facts? The expedition has discovered some previously unknown organism. If the story's big enough to pull the professor away with such short notice, perhaps it's big enough to buy me a boat. Let's hit the trail for Ghana and Lake Basomtwi. The flight to Accra via Amsterdam was pretty fuss-free, but the in-flight food was crappy, as expected. I was able to revive myself with some traditional fufu and a few Gordon Sparks in a chop shop before a bush pilot flew me into an airfield by Lake Basomtwi. With a bit of luck, I'll be at the base camp in a few hours. Looks like everyone upped and left in the night. Strange. I've got goosebumps all of a sudden, despite the heat. I'm getting something of a horrible feeling here. I'd better get a move on so I can reach the Lake Basomtwi camp before nightfall. I should maybe give it a test.
Come, gather round, and have the piss taken out of you by a crazy lady with a megaphone.
Ooh, I like it. Hey, Dixie. Now what would those Southerners say if they knew there was a mobile toilet named after their hymn? Holy shit. If a dead fish and a tramp had a baby and the baby threw up into a dog's mouth, the dog's end product would smell better than this toilet does. Even if I had to, I would not go in there. Hell, they've seen better days. Now then, any juice left in these at all? Lemonade. Sweet as shit and warm to boot. But even ice cold, it's not an option, if I want to avoid doing my figure some real harm. Well, okay, I'll take it with me. But be aware that this is non-alcoholic piss water. Airport terminal, Africa style. A little bit too rustic for my taste. Where's the air-conditioned bar and duty-free shop? It's certainly seen better days. Yarr! Sorry. The pocket knife only has this one blade, but it's extremely versatile. I can unscrew screws with it, for example. Sits around all day. Probably shows up for food and fondling. Men. A limp sock. Reminds me of my ex. You know what? Enough of that. Looks like a reliable enough contraption. It clamps 2 ropes together. Crates of provisions. Well, I'm not gonna starve to death here, that's for sure. The camp lies northeast from here. That's where we want to be headed. Where's that perverse stink coming from? Oh, right. Pumbaa. They may be cute in cartoon form, but in the real world, those warthog tusks should not be underestimated. As long as that hog's eyeballing me, I really don't give a damn about the tree trunk. Okay, away we go. Sing Hakuna Matata for me then! Great. He seems to be quite unaffected. I guess that act's only good for scaring off lechers in bars. And here's me thinking I had the act down pat. I suppose compared to most men, this pig is smart enough to tell the real thing from the crazy lady making cat noises in the jungle. Hello, Mr. Kitty. How about an interview? Thank you for the profound discussion. I'll hold the megaphone close to the voice recorder speaker. Perhaps the pig's got a cat allergy as well. Pity. Apparently not. Now I'll put the used batteries into the voice recorder. Perhaps the pig's got a cat allergy as well. Success. Straight and long. Could be useful. Ants. I must have scared him up. Just like in the adventure movies. So, what do we have? Great. The guide rope on the right-hand side of the bridge is broken. That's all I need. I can't get across with it like that. I need to repair the rope first. If I ignore the busted guide rope and try to cross, I'll soon be acquainted with the chasm floor. There's a tool bag hanging down there. I hope nobody left it there when they took the express route to the bottom. I'll pull out a thread. In fact, this cap is such a waste of space, I'll throw the rest away. This is where my exceptional capabilities in the tying of seamen's knots come into play. And to what should I now tie the hook? One long hook thing coming right up. Come to Mama. Well, what have we got here then? The wrench fits. Now, let's just hope the mast doesn't fall when I remove the connector. How about that? Rope connector gone, mast still standing. A woman needs a little luck sometimes. A prime example of a professional bodge job. Let's see. This can't be all that difficult. That ought to hold. Looks halfway safe again. I ought to be a bit cautious all the same. Whoa, what a mess. Who did this? Hello? Professor Hartman? Strange. No one here. What the hell happened? I ought to take a look around. A four-legged stand. It's a motion sensor. On the sensor, it says, working range 90 degrees. There's a fireplace here, but it's stone cold. Cold ashes and stones. Won't be attracting much interest on the local real estate market. Trespassing here is not prohibited, just impossible. The floorboards look pretty rotten. You want me to get a wood splinter? Even if the floorboards look rotten, you need something a little more heavy-duty than a manicured fingernail. A pipe. That's all I have to say about that. What I'd really like to know is what threw this great big locker all over the place. Feels kind of locked. Dry wood. Should burn well. A genuine sun trap. It's like the hut was cleaned out by a tornado. That tipped-over locker seems to be the only thing that hasn't been smashed or squashed. I'll pass. My delicate little fingers are not going in there just yet. Interesting storage method. That's how you keep your grub away from the hungry fauna. This winch holds the crate hanging from the cable. The crank is missing. The wrench fits, but I don't have enough muscle power. The winch isn't moving an inch. The wrench fits inside the pipe. The laws of leverage are your friends. My favorite occupation, plundering. Mostly fruit and veg. I'll leave that here and take everything else. Uh-huh. It fits. The professor received this letter from his wife on their wedding anniversary. Turns out married, middle-aged people have very little of interest to say to one another. I'll check the first aid kit. According to the sticker, that's Professor Hartman's laptop. Sadly, though, the battery's flat. The mobile solar charger has to be assembled before it can be used. Bearing in mind I don't like puzzles, I've rather nailed that one, haven't I? I'll connect the solar charger to the laptop. I'll put the laptop and the solar charger here in the sun. Ugh, the laptop's protected by a code. A strip of adhesive tape. Might leave a scratch, but the ends justify the means. Is that just the manufacturer's logo? It looks like wedding bands or something. Looks like some kind of diary. Sounds promising. Viruses that are responsible for evolutionary leaps? That story would be an absolute scoop. Now, is there any truth to these ghost stories? Shit. Looks like it's quite possible they're close by here. I need to be careful. At least I now know where I can find the professor. Only now all that's missing is any clue to where this Christian mission is. No saved mail. And if I was going to send or receive any, then I'd also need an internet connection. This is where Hartman saved the pictorial info from the current expedition. The map of the camp. A map of the region to the south of the Basumtwi. Aha! That over there to the west has to be the mission that Hartman wrote about in his notes. Even the most ambitious scientist has to switch off every now and then. Can't wait to see what kind of music the prof's into. No forecast without the internet. And I don't need a laptop to see how the weather is right now. It doesn't make sense to set off for the mission now. I don't want to be wandering about in the jungle after dark. I'll spend the night here in the camp. Chasing after our scientists will have to wait until tomorrow. I'll set up the motion sensors and build a nice big fire to keep the beasties at bay. Now, I ought to make a fire. It'll keep me safe tonight, from the cold and whatever else is out there. Let's get cozy. The working range of this sensor is 160 degrees. I'm thinking that the sensor belongs on top of the stand. This sensor has a working range of 120 degrees. I'm thinking that the sensor belongs on top of the stand. This sensor has a working range of 75 degrees. I'm thinking that the sensor belongs on top of the stand. A sensor with a working range of 90 degrees. I'm thinking that the sensor belongs on top of the stand. Looks like the sensors are set up according to plan. There. All done. Now I'm gonna get some shut-eye. And in the morning, I'll head to the mission and track down this research team. What are they? Animals? Nasty. I need to scare them off somehow. Maybe it'll give them a fright. They're gone. Hopefully they're gonna stay gone too. It won't be too long now until sunrise. What a night. I never got back to sleep. What were those things? Hey, maybe I caught them on camera. What the? In all the horror movies I've ever watched, I've never seen anything like this.